When will you release the Russian report?
Let me tell you,
this is the report into whether or not there was Russian interference or any kind of influence.
There is absolutely no evidence that I know of.
If that's the case, then why not release it?
To show any interference in any British electoral event. And the reason I won't is I see no reason, or the reason I decided not to ages ago, is because I see no reason to interfere with the normal timetable.
The normal timetable? Hold on, that's not true. That is not true.
This is real, I'm sorry to say, and with great respect, so this is complete Bermuda Triangle stuff.
Ayesha Hazarika, Alice Thomson and Joey Jones have rejoined us to give their verdicts on tonight's debates. We did feed them pizza after all. We were talking first about Boris Johnson before. Let's come back to Boris Johnson. This is about who's going to be Prime Minister now. It's getting, obviously, crunch time in the election. Joey, Boris Johnson then, you say no gaffes, but do you think he did enough tonight to retain his position, essentially?
I think there was no slam dunk, absolute gotcha moment, but he was under a lot of pressure, and I think that there will be many of his opponents who will look at that and who will think, well, let's see if we can try and ramp up that pressure. I think that overall Jeremy Corbyn looked slightly more relaxed under his own pressure than the Prime Minister did, but what Boris Johnson did quite well was to sort of suck it up. When he was being pushed, he didn't try to strike back. He got a bit softer, a bit quieter.
But he pretends he's not as conservative quite a lot of the time, doesn't he? He pretends that he wasn't part of the machinery when he was mayor, but of course he was a Conservative.
So he talks about being the newcomer. He's like, I've only been in office for 120 days. I wasn't there really with the coalition. That actually it was Jo Swinson who was part of the coalition. That he doesn't want to be blamed for anything the Tories have done when they've been in office. And so he always talks about his mayoral record, which is quite clever actually, because that's something he finds easy and he can go on that. He didn't really talk about Brexit nearly as much as he thought he was going to talk about.
Ayesha, it was quite striking, just sticking with Boris Johnson for a moment and then we'll move on to Jeremy Corbyn, that there was a real sequence of women asking Boris Johnson questions about his record on women, actually from his journalistic pulpit, what he has written, and also with regards to policy and the way that he has or has not supported them. That was quite striking.
Yeah, I thought those women's interventions were actually the most powerful of the evening, particularly on Islamophobia, his own contributions. He refused to say sorry for the contribution he has made to the rise of Islamophobia. And also there was quite a powerful moment from a single mother who said, look, my life has been made really, really difficult because of universal credit. And again, I think for him...
Well, she hadn't moved on to it yet, but she was very concerned about it.
Yes, exactly. That's right. And I think for him and his strategists, his big weakness is looking out of touch with people like that and a lack of empathy. So I think that will have probably been the weakest moment for him in the debate.
And Jeremy Corbyn tonight then was again a striking moment with this position of I will be neutral. Yeah. Is this one of those moments in the campaign,
well,
Joey?
He is the only one who's committed news. He's reinforced the fence on which he was sitting, and he's actually made it central now to his whole position, and said that it's a position of authority, that as Prime Minister he would be above the fray in a referendum. I'm a bit torn about this because, to be honest, I do think that there will be a lot of people who will say, what? You seriously are not going to tell us, as Prime Minister, which side of the argument you would be on? And obviously you articulated some of those questions in the previous interview. But at the same time, that I think very muddled position has been there from the outset, and actually Labour are increasing their vote share. So it doesn't seem to be having that corrosive effect on his brand and the Labour Party brand that I think I might have expected.
Alice?
That's what surprised me. I mean, what was clever is he's going to get the news headlines tomorrow, because he did give a fresh piece of news, which the others, we knew pretty much what they were going to say on various issues. The downside for Jo Swinson is that she does have a very clear view, and you'd think that by being honest and by saying what she was going to do and not, very much jumping off the fence, she'd benefit from that, but she didn't. It's been Corbyn who's jumped.
Why did you feel like you wanted to mother Jo Swinson?
Well, I think for her, this was her big moment to shine. She's been sort of very upset about not being included in that head-to-head debate, although judging from her performance tonight, maybe that was merciful in many ways. This was her big chance to make her debut, and it just was so hard. She got no mercy from any quarter of the audience. She was punished for the sins of the father. Ironically, we were saying, Boris Johnson gets away with, a Tory record. The entire visitation of punishment is put upon her. She has a very strong position on revoke Article Article 50. She didn't even get a single applause line for that. And
It was
again,
very quiet.
the point you made about the being, I feel like she's been quite badly advised in terms of overreaching. She should be the candidate that's bringing some sanity into proceedings and saying, look, I might not be Prime Minister, but I could be Deputy Prime Minister, and I can decide who is going to be a Prime Minister, and I can rein them in. So that's plausible.
So in a way, one of the biggest surprises of the evening is people had waited perhaps to hear what she had to say. Thank you very much to our Pizza Club here.